We are now about to hear Mark Roglán, the Linda P. and William A. Custard Director of the Meadows Museum and Centennial Chair of the Meadows Museum School of the Arts in SMU. You know him well, and as you also know, the great museum he directs. So let me just emphasize from a Spanish perspective that because of his intelligent strategic vision, this museum, housing such a wonderful collection of Spanish art, has ceased to be for us a hidden and remote treasure to become a very visible, very relevant, and important reference for anybody willing to study Spanish art, as the museum covers a very long span of time from medieval to contemporary art. But it's also a crucial reference for anybody willing to study American collecting of Spanish art, and also how the American interest is expanding from Spanish to Latin American culture. He will explain this much better than me. After Mark Roglán, we will have the pleasure of listening to Ángel Kallenberg, former director of the Museo Nacional de Artes Visuales de Montevideo. The title of his presentation is clear enough, I think: Narratives of Latin American Art from Montevideo to Mainstream Art History. Without the patient, wise, sensitive work of Ángel Kallenberg as head of the Museo Nacional for several decades in Montevideo, we might not be aware of the centrality of such figures as Torres Garcia or Barradas in the evolution of mainstream international modernism. This is a typical case study of how narratives and arguments may shift in art history and market according to why, how, and when the tale of art history is told, and by whom, of course. So let's listen after Mark, Ángel Kallenberg.
Well, thank you everybody for being here today. And the topic of my talk is going to be about the Meadows Museum and what a story, a very linear narrative, a little more positive, that with less melancholy than the one Manolo was telling just a minute ago. But just to try to bring up to date about where we were, where we are, and where we're going. And basically, I was saying there's a linear narrative, and it's going to be like, I want to divide the lecture like in 3 parts, because it's really hard to understand where we are and where we're going without starting from where we come, which is the pillars on which the institution is based. You probably know the story of Alger Meadows. He's the person on which the whole collection starts from. He was born in Vidalia, became a very prosperous oil businessman that decided in the 1950s to expand his vision and become global. And he went to Madrid, and he would stay every year at the Ritz for 2 months. The reason he would stay there was to hear, hopefully to get good news from all his prospections. He did prospections all over the country, even in the Spanish Sahara, and move on with his business of oil. But being in the Ritz, he spent 2 months every year. He would spend a lot of time with the museum that's across the Ritz, which is the Prado Museum. And with time, he fell in love with the Spanish art, and he decided that he wanted to do something very special. And in 1965, he decided, being a trustee of Southern Methodist University in SMU, he decided to give the collection to the university and also the monies and the funds to build the museum. What I'm showing here is the museum when it was originally featured, which is this box, part of the Owens Art Center, just over here. So that was the space that was inaugurated in 1965. And he, in 1968, was asked by a member of the Houston Chronicle, what do you want to do? And he said, yes, I mean, as I said originally, to build a small Prado in Texas. So here you go. A man with small vision, no? He just woke up one day, got the phone. There was a member from the press asking, what do you want to do? And he was saying, I want to do a small Prado for Texas. He had the means, he had the interest, and he felt like he was in the position to make that happen. So he put himself to work. Here we see an image of Alger Meadows inaugurating the museum in 1965. Beautiful, charming building. The designer is a modernist based here in Dallas. And everybody came. We even have chronicles that Mrs. Meadows was wearing a pink Balenciaga the day that the museum opened. And the collection started to grow. First, in the 1950s, he bought especially a lot in Spain. And some of the works that we see here, some of them are still in the collection, some are not. For example, the one in the center was thought to be a Piombo. We still have it in the collection, and it's a copy of Piombo. And some other paintings are still in the collection, like the beautiful painting by Esquivel. And others were The Accession. And some others, like this one, was bought, for example, as an El Greco. And it's a painting that still remains in the collection that later on was found out that it wasn't by El Greco. He was a great man of vision, but also a great man when it came to do things large. Not so much with the Spanish collection, but as you probably all know, he also collected French Impressionism and modern art. And especially it was in that area where he was more misfortune because basically two crooks took advantage of him and sold him paintings, especially from Emile de Ory, very important forger, and also by other paintings that were not by Picasso, Modigliani, etc. But it's interesting because what will happen during those years is that basically the institution will put a lot of attention in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s in the collection. And the collection was very focused, which is quite extraordinary. It was going to be a collection of Spanish art. And it was going to encompass from medieval times to the present in a way that had rarely been seen before. So major works, for example, of Juan de Borgoña from the 16th century were secured for the collection. Works from the 17th century by many artists, including this wonderful Two Saints by Murillo, were secured for the collection. Or the Yard of Madmen, which was bought in Wildenstein, paintings from the 18th century, Goya, was brought to the collection. Or 19th century, Luz Jimenez Aranda. Or even from the 20th century, this wonderful Miró from the 20s, this masterpiece of Queen Maria Luisa of Prussia, which was bought by Miró directly in the Pierre Matisse Gallery to Miró himself. It's a Miró that was chosen by Miró for the Meadows collection. This is really extraordinary because really what he was setting up is a collection that it's really unique in many ways because it really encompasses the whole period. I mean, it goes all the way from medieval times to the art of today. Some collections stop earlier, some start later. In this case, encompass the whole period. So in some ways, thinking with the standards of the Prado, thinking and making a great collection of Spanish art and putting this range just set the platform for the museum to grow. And that, I just wanted to bring two images because I do think that's important to see, especially from the 60s to 78 when he dies, the range, how his taste also changed. This is what is thought to be the first painting he bought for the Meadows collection. This beautiful painting, a Salon painting from the 1877 that was in the Salon in Paris, and the first painting that's supposed to be bought of Spanish art by Meadows, to this incredible Velázquez, the Queen Margarita of Austria, which was bought at the end of his life. That's, I would say, is the first chapter of the lecture I wanted to talk today, because that will really settle the way the museum will go into a second phase. So the collection had been there. There have been wonderful exhibitions, some of them very important, like a Melendez still life exhibition that took place in the 80s. But the museum, there was this kind of incredible vision in the late 90s and early, especially in the late 90s, with a group of leaders from the university, as well as from the community, sat down and decided to build this new building. It's a building that is 6 times or more larger than the original building that was in the Owen Center. And it was a building that was meant to almost like suited for the collection, which is something we see very rarely too. Usually museums, collections happen, they come to a building, you deal with the collections. In this case, this building was almost made for the collections to be hung in. which is quite extraordinary. Here what we see is also how first also this wonderful work by Calatrava was added in 2002, and how basically the platform from which to create a museum, meaning with exhibitions, with programming, publications, etc., was put together. Here we have a moment of the opening in 2001. On the left, we see the president of the university and his wife, and in the center and on the right, we see the governor of Texas, then still today, and his wife, Anita Perry. And in the center, we see kings Juan Carlos and Queen Reina Sofia. I always like to say that this is a collection that brings kings to Texas, and no any other kings but the kings of Spain. So the kings came just to Dallas, just to the opening of the new Meadows Museum, just because of the collection and this terrific new building. Here we have several images. The Plaza was just remodeled in 2009, and other works of art were featured, like this one by Plaza. And basically, the presence of the museum became, in many ways, like the lobby, like the foyer of the university with the community. So it's where the university itself merges with the community. In many ways, the Meadows Museum was able to provide that. And the galleries. From those small galleries, we got this incredible building where we could hang the collections in one section of the building on the second floor with this wonderful natural light, on the other and not, with all the kind of high technology that is required, and really making the collection look as it never had looked before. Also, as we see that changes had happened in the museum, we can also see that the city had changed. It's very different, the Dallas of 1965 to the Dallas of today, of 2000. And the city grew, and the university wants to be part of that growth. One of the 5 largest metroplex in the country, with a growing population, especially in the Latino section, that's close now to 50%. Here we have an image of Dallas today. Also a very vigorous city, with a lot of interest. When you think about it, it's not normal to find half a dozen of cultural institutions that have just merged in the last 10 years. And they continue happening. The Perot Center just opened just a few months ago. And I had to put this shot. I mean, Calatrava is part of the DNA in many ways of the Meadows Museum. And we just opened this bridge last year, and he came to the museum for the opening of the bridge. Beautiful bridge that will be joined, this is the Margaret Hunt Bridge, that will be joined very soon by the Margaret McDermott Bridge. And I wanted to talk about what to do. So once we started, we had this incredible building, then we needed to fill it up with content. And we focused especially in doing exhibitions, some of them larger than others. But for example, we paid a lot of attention also in doing collaborations, hopefully to be done in long term. This is a whole series that probably many of you saw of paintings that Fernando Gallego, a Castilian painter from the 15th century, had done. They're crest pictures that were given to the Tucson Museum of Art, and that were put together for the first time and studied in depth by the Meadows Museum, with the collaboration of the Kimball Art Museum, with which we did all the infrareds and all the studies. So we did focus exhibitions, such as the one of Fernando Gallego, but also we've done exhibitions that rank with the decorative arts. This is a whole series of tapestries that we bought from the 18th century that were commissioned by Philip V, describing the legend of Don Quixote. King Philip V of Spain, coming from the Bourbons, decided when he was in his youth in Paris to write a new chapter of Don Quixote. And that new chapter, that never was published, of course, was part of the exhibition. But also, one of the first things he did when he got to Spain was, I want to have a whole series based on Don Quixote. It was a wonderful show. We also did with Patrimonio Nacional this incredible show on Charles IV and all his collecting, a show that was first in the Royal Palace and then came to the Meadows. And also we have brought private collections in Spain and also in Latin America. This one is the Pérez Simón collection, a collector in Mexico City, and we brought this wonderful collection, the Chronic de Monet exhibition that was organized by the Thyssen, and then came to the Meadows with Raphaelite paintings, Bouguereau's, Monet, Cézanne's, etc., as well as the Avelló collection that was very kind to also we did with the Thyssen Museum, and they were able to lend this wonderful Degas, Van Goghs, etc. Also, although Spanish art, of course, has been something we've been very interested in, and also we've been very interested in working with and the whole area collecting. We are Meadows. We're basically the result of the taste of one collector. We also have been very interested in looking into Latin America. And one of the, I think, with bringing the painting of New World exhibition with Denver, and then doing this exhibition that we organized on Diego Rivera and the Cubist portraits, we were very pleased to be able to bring under the same roof all the Diegos that Diego painted from 1913 to 1917, but 3. So it was a great opportunity just to see how Diego was working in Paris during this period from 1913 and 1917. And that's the infamous painting that he said, he mentioned that Picasso was copying him. And he got him in a lot of trouble. We also done fashion, like Balenciaga and His Legacy, a wonderful show in 2006. And we like to do exhibitions like Balenciaga, which we think are historically important, and they are very appealing. It's an incredible connection between the greatest Spanish designer probably that ever existed, and also Texas itself. Many of these gowns came from UNT, and they were bought and done by designers. And we were talking before about numbers of people coming and going to museums and how important that is, and how maybe not that important that is, because this will be an exhibition, for example, that is broken the record of attendance when to the Meadows Museum of all times. On the other hand, Fernando Gallego is the exhibition that probably the publication got more important appeal from scholars all over the world. So we were interested in, and we also interested in contemporary art. This was an exhibition we organized, putting our Spanish art collection in the context of modern art, and how the Spanish school is still, in many ways, is looked at by contemporary artists from Curran to Manuel Valdés or Struth, no, on the top. There was a Ballester just in the. So we like to also come and see the collection in different ways. And when it comes to exhibitions, we're really open to everything and anything. And that has the same quality and importance as the Meadows collection. This is an exhibition we also organized with Italy. It was, it's the most important exhibition ever done in America on Etruscan art. And I want to make a point here because Manolo brought to our attention the importance of collaboration. This is the result of collaboration. And I'm a true believer that the future for museums is in making these collaborations happen, especially long-term, ongoing collaborations. And this exhibition is the result of that, and also the result of us being part of SMU. The exhibition was organized and curated by a professor of SMU. His name is Greg Warden, Dr. Greg Warden. And basically, he came to us saying, like, look, SMU has a dig in northern Italy that we've been working on for more than 30 years. And it would be nice to do an exhibition on Etruscan art. Well, that led to conversations with the National Archaeological Museum in Florence and all the Tuscan museums. And suddenly we started to discuss not doing a small little show, but they were willing to lend everything and anything just to do a major exhibition with all these scholars in America. So the show came to the Meadows. It was the first time, for example, that Pediment was ever lent, and it was just a major publication that came out of the whole result. But it wasn't because of the Meadows Museum. It wasn't because of our collection. We drew upon the context and the relationship that Greg had built during 30-plus years. And I remember talking to colleagues, museum directors here in America, in a moment that, for example, there was a lot of pressure, especially from the Italians, to repatriate works of art. So there was a huge discussion of how to avoid that. And this was brought as a great example of how you can create really great relationships when it comes to this kind of situations when you have ongoing relationship. So having SMU, a dig in Florence for 30 years, year after year, all the things that surface from that dig going to the Italian patrimony, set the base of a wonderful relationship of which definitely took advantage. This is some of the works that came from the dig that SMU has there, but it was put in a much larger context, which was the Truscan large exhibition. We also have done exhibitions with the Freer Gallery in Washington. These are 6th century Buddhist sculptures that we brought from all over the world. And because also we're part of a university, so we have this university sense of having to reach all areas and all people. And this was, again, of the highest quality. There was all this incredible cavern that was made technologically, reproducing the caverns that were in China. And basically a great project in which the University of Chicago was trying to get the different pieces from different sculptures that had been removed in the early 20th century and replace them thanks to technology. We have not forgotten about the collection, and we continue collecting only Spanish art, and we'll continue collecting only Spanish art. We're very focused on that. All our funds are restricted to Spanish art. Our donors, the Meadows Foundation, especially wants the collection on Spanish art to continue being polished. It's like a diamond, that you continue polishing. So we've been able to continue getting works of art that will enhance the collection during this last 13 years. Like this one by Rechac, this one by Pantoja de la Cruz, we think. This one by El Greco, that was about just after the building opened. Carreño de Miranda, this was in Maastricht just a few years ago. Portrait of Charles II. This wonderful terracotta was recently bought by Villabrile, sculptor from Castile, that will be soon unveiled, is shown in the collections. Miniatures by Melendez, a woman artist working in the 18th century in the court of Charles IV. We have bought an important portrait of Mead by Vicente Lopez, a painting that represents an American collector from the early 18th century. It's a Meadows 100 years earlier that made all his business in the south of Spain, and that basically the first Murillos that came, documented that came to America, came with his collection. Martin Rico, at the base of the exhibition that's now in the museum, and especially we have centered a lot of efforts in 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st century art with works by Beruete, Mir, Regoyos, Sorolla, Desanglada, which is Paris in 1903, the Moulin Rouge, Blanchard, Julio González, drawings, Saura, Chirino, Calatrava, and Jaume Plensa, the first head that he did using all these irons. But also we get a lot of donations, and we're really interested in doing that, including this wonderful Coronel or this Elena Escobedo. So we're very interested through especially donations to grow the collections of Latin American art and other schools. We're very interested in doing research and doing all the conservation that needs to be done. This is a very interesting result. When we were doing the acquisition of this painting, of this sculpture, the finger came off. And that was great because we were able to do TL testing. So we were able to find the exact date when the sculpture was done. So now we know it's from 1715 to 1800. So that provides us even more certainty about when the sculptures were done. These are some of the x-rays. We partner with the Children's Hospital. It's so interesting. And we love to do this kind of things. The sculpture we wanted to do x-rays. It's in terracotta, so it's extremely fragile. So we call the Children's, and they say, we'll send you an x-ray team that will do the x-ray. So we call them, and this is the result, which was terrific. Also, we've done things with the Kimball, well, as I mentioned before, with the Fernando Gallego. Also, the museum has evolved enormously when it comes to education. We have incredible programs in SMU, but also with the community. Thousands of children come with buses to see the exhibitions and the collection today. This is my associate director did this, and I love it. Hey, publications. And And this is also very important. Although exhibitions were done in that first stage, is really publications. We've done enormous advances in areas that are more popular, like, I don't know, like Velázquez, or areas that are less popular, maybe Esteban Vicente, or we're interested in what it really comes down to is like if you do, for example, research on Martin Rico, the book you're going to find the latest in English today in America is from 1933. So for us to do an exhibition of Martin Rico and to be able to do a publication and update all of that, it's very important for us because we help, promote and make sure that people that are interested in late 19th century or in Rico or this art from this time will be able to find these publications available. Also with Diego Rivera or Velázquez, it was very interesting to find out that we had a half a dozen of beautiful Velázquez here in the Meadows, and the largest concentration of Velázquez before that did not happen till 1989 when the Met did their exhibition on Velázquez. So sometimes time goes by, and these publications help further understanding and appreciation of Spanish art as well as other areas. We are very interested in ongoing long-term relationships. I brought that before. This is the one we forged 4 years ago with the Perot Museum, in which everything started very small with the loan of that wonderful Greco by Pentecost, and that just organically grow now to bring these exhibitions that are being shown both in Madrid and Dallas, and that will continue next year when we do the exhibition with the Spanish drawings from the Kunsthalle in Hamburg that will be shown first in Madrid, first in Dallas, and then will be seen in Madrid. I mean, this is like, it's so positive because the staffs of both institutions get to know each other, and the relationship, and goes back with Manolo was saying about long-term collaborations. That's the key for success, and it does work. Also, we have a great long-term collaboration with the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. What we see here is that wonderful major altarpiece with other pictures that have been here on loan for 10 years. As you all know, Boston was closing galleries because the Foster building was being constructed, so they were like in a pickle and said like, well, what do we do with our Spanish art collection? So they called us and said, would you be interested in showcasing while we're going through construction? Instead of putting it in storage and being there for 10, 12 years, we said, okay, we'll bring it down, we'll hang it with the permanent collection, and it's been here for the last 10 years or 12 years, and it's very possible that will stay for a few years more. But it's a wonderful, also ongoing relationship that then when, for example, they need Goyas from our collection or we need Velázquez for their, it makes things much easier. I mean, and this is another case that just came a couple weeks ago, and it's in the galleries now. This is a dark image, it's awful. The painting is fantastic. It's a Valdés Leal that just came from the Santa Barbara Museum of Art, and is on long-term loan for 5 to 6 years. And they wanted to do, it's a bequest that they got. They're really into contemporary art, but they really felt like if the Meadows wanted it, we would take it, and it's wonderful. And I could not avoid bringing the Villalpando to the right, because we try to make all those connections through programming and through exhibitions themselves to try to bring the kind of dialogues, between the art of Spain and other art. Well, saying all of this is like I do feel like in this last decade plus, the museum just basically being very focused in the collection, thanks to the construction of the new building and all the programming and all the exhibitions and all the publications and all the educational efforts, has really become a museum operating of all different kind of levels. And I think that progression will continue, and we'll see really great results from that. But the question is like, where do we go next? And I think that one of the things that we're most excited is about what we're doing right now. This is the first time, at least in the 13 years I've been here, that there's an international symposium with 10 scholars for 2 days just talking and discussing about art. This is huge for us. I mean, it's the first time, but we don't want it to stop there. We want to have much more of this coming to the Meadows and being part of that kind of ongoing organic and learn about art and collecting. We want to continue with research and education and helping We have a great program with Connections. It's called Connections and Beyond Sight. Our education department is doing enormous strides in learning from how to help with disabilities, people that may be blind, people that may have Alzheimer's, maybe people that had other kinds of challenges, how to make art available to them. But it's not just try to incorporate something that's been done, has been successful. It's about research. It's about what can we find that can make that experience be better. And that will pay also enormous dividends. And we'll have, hopefully, symposiums and bring scholars and experts in education from all over the world and learn about what we discover. Also, and here we see some of the people really in Braille or working through the collections. One thing also we're very excited about, we're working on reopening the restaurant. And make it, but we don't want to just sell sandwiches or do something like that. We just want to have it and be like a food destination and really be part of the culture of Spain. I mean, and really explore and bring chefs. If you think about it, there's like cuisines that are being opened all over the world with this great I think that Spain is again number one. The number one restaurant was just voted in Spain. But we want people to explore culture in all kind of levels and just have from a real paella, which is what is being cooked there, to really Spanish great wines, etc. So that's what we're working for, and hopefully by the end of this year, we will move forward with that. We were just allowed from the university the possibility of offering to whoever operates the restaurant the possibility of selling wine and beer, and that has put us in a different situation in order to make it operational. I just had to bring her. I don't know. I mean, I saw her and I said, there's where you fit. With research, again, that's something we're paying a lot of attention. We have fellows that are coming every year. We're training them here. That they're going to Europe. They're being trained as well there. And we hope that also will help make the future leaders and the future curators and scholars of tomorrow. Also, we're very interested in expanding the global footprint through exhibitions. We have already mentioned the RICO exhibition in the Prado, or the one that we did with the National Library of Spain, of the Códice of the Sistine Chapel, that went to both venues. We want to increase that, and like in December with the Sorolla in America exhibition, the exhibition will be in Dallas. We'll go to San Diego, California, and then we'll be seen in Madrid. So we're really interested in working on that. We're very interested in developing also programs inside SMU. I mean, this is something that we have that makes us unique. We are a Spanish art collection. We have a great facility. We have all this great staff creating all this great programming, doing all these great things, exhibitions, etc. But also we're part of a larger university. We have a great art history department. We have other areas of humanities, but also we have business, and we also have areas of law, theology, engineering. So we're really looking into trying to bring all those things together. Why not partner with the business school and create like programs on how about leadership with people with MBA programs, etc., and arts administration, etc. Why not work closely with the business also school and talk about how Spanish companies and other companies that come to make business in America, how that can be successful in an environment where it's important for companies that understand the whole area of philanthropy and how nonprofit works in America. That will make them more successful and also will make us more effective. So we're thinking about different ways of how to integrate that, and hopefully in the future and the next years we'll see this kind of initiatives unveiling. And we also want to bring and make relationships not only with museums, but also we're a university, so also with universities here in Latin America and elsewhere. And I would say that the final, here's our president, one of those days, with all the family. And I think that what I wanted to conclude is just saying that I would say that the final goal for the Meadows Museum is to become the center for Spanish art in America, an institution where anyone that's interested in the art of Spain and its culture will come and become an active participant. Thank you.